one, we're going to solve each equation by factoring. And these are two examples we're going to use. We're using the zero product property, so we're just going to have to factor this. And always want to write this in standard form. So let's subtract 25 from both sides and set that to 0. And you should be looking at, these are perfect squares. And so we're using our factoring facts of the difference of squares. So I can factor this, or if I want to write it like this, I can write this as 6k squared minus 5 squared equals 0. So this is like your a squared minus b squared equals 0, and we can just factor using this. So we have 6k plus 5 times 6k minus 5 equals 0. Now set both of these to 0, so you have 6k plus 5 equals 0. And then you subtract 5, you get 6k equals negative 5. And divide both sides by 6, so you get k equals negative 5 6. Again, when you do this one, it's the same thing. But you're going to add 5, so you're going to get 6k equals 5. So k equals positive 5 6. So the way you might want to write your answer is you can just write it like that. Make sure you use the word or you can just say k equals plus or minus. That's what that means, plus or minus 5 6. That's one way to write it. Or you can write it as a set. You can write it as plus or minus 5 6. Or you could write it as plus 5 6 and minus negative 5 6, like that. And you can switch those around if you want. Now for the next one, what we're going to do is write this in standard form. So 12m cubed minus 8m squared. I'm going to move that over. So minus 8m squared minus 15m equals 0. Because we're using the zero product property. Now I can factor out an m here. So when you're factoring, always check for that greatest common factor. So basically I can divide everything by m. So instead of losing the divisor, pull it out here. You have 12m squared minus 8m minus 15 equals 0. And then from here, I'm going to have to factor. This one's a little harder. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start with 4m and 3m for the 12. You want to get them close together, the factors that are closest together. And then 15, I'm going to go ahead and use 5 and 3. When I look at this, I'm looking at 20 minus 9, or negative 20 plus 9. That does not give me a negative 8. But now that I wrote this out, I do notice that I could write this as 6 and 2. So if I do that, I'm going to get, let's see, if I put 2 here and 3 here, I'm going to get, a 6 here. What I'll get is a 10 and a 18. So if I make this a 10 and this 18, that's going to give me positive 8. So what I want to do is switch this around and make this positive 10 and negative 18. So that's how you do it by trial and error, which is the way I do it. There's other ways to do this with the factors, but I seriously hope you all start practicing doing trial and error more, because it's going to make your factoring skills better if you can do this more mentally. Now that we have that resolved, we set each piece to 0. So we set this to 0, you get m equals 0. You set this piece to 0, this binomial. You add 3, you get 2m equals 3. So m, divide both sides by 2, m equals 3/2. And then for this one, do the same thing. 6m plus 5 equals 0. Subtract the 5. Divide by 6. So now we have 3 solutions. That means any time with our 0 product property, if I plug in 0, I'm going to get 0 here times whatever I get here, which will be -3 times 5. That's still going to give me 0. Similarly, all of these will work as well. So it's either m equals 0 or m equals 3/2 or m equals -5/6. And that's how you would write it. If you want to write it as a set, you could just write it as 0, 3/2, -5/6. The order doesn't matter when you're writing it as a set. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.